up, everyone? Liam here from Metal Ruse. Today I'm interviewing my very good friend Karl Lean, bassist of Australian metal legends Nothing Sacred, who, following the release of their Leviathan EP, are set to play in Germany this year. Karl, it's great to speak with you, man. How are you?
Feeling really good, Liam. It's really good to see you again.
We'll dive right into it. Nothing Sacred, you're off to Europe this year. Obviously a massive deal for you guys. How many shows do you have planned?
It's hard to say at the moment because we're in a couple of negotiations that haven't finished yet. So we're waiting to hear back from, we've put feelers out to promoters and other bands, and we just need people to sort of make some decisions. At this stage, I'd say the minimum will be about 4 or 5 shows. Could go maybe 8 to 10 shows in total, perhaps, but we still wait. We hope to know in the next 2 weeks.
But of course, the jewel in that crown is Headbangers Open Air.
Oh yeah, no, that's what started it all off, and we're really looking forward to that. I mean, absolutely everyone I've talked to, both overseas and local bands, Australian bands that have played there in the past, I mean, everyone's got nothing but good things to say about Headbangers Open Air, so we can't wait. We're actually opening up room on our schedule so we can basically turn up a couple of days early and just be there for the whole festival. So
yeah.
we're not just going to turn up on the day we play, we're going to hang out there for the whole show, so it's going to be great.
Good time, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's been a few Aussie bands that have been playing Headbangers Open Air recently, like there was Mortal Sin, Hobbs Angel Death, Espionage as well, who have come up from Australia. It's good to see more Aussie bands are getting out onto the European festivals.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we're playing this year with Silent Night from Perth, who have apparently, they were there 5 or 6 years ago, I think. Actually, they were there about 6 years ago, which is when we were first going to go. We had spoken to the guys at Headbangers Open Air back in about 2017, maybe 2018, I can't quite remember. But that's when our singer Chris had some health issues related to his ear and stuff. So we weren't in a position to play or travel at the time, so we had to let that go. So it's great to have the opportunity this year, and like I said, we'll be playing with Silent Night as well. So that's, more Aussies is always a good thing. I've got no problem with that.
More Aussies in Germany.
Yeah. And the good thing is that we're all staying at your place, which will be excellent.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably can't see the background, but I've got the couch ready for you, so.
That's okay. There'll be about 6 or 7 of us on the couch. That's fine. That's pretty normal. That'll be good.
So this will be a second time for Nothing Sacred playing outside of Australia. Is that correct?
Yeah. The only other stuff we've done is Japan in 2015. We've had a couple of opportunities, but for one reason or another, we've had to let them go. They just weren't right. Timing wasn't right, that sort of thing. And then, of course, COVID. I mean, we probably really wanted to be 2020, 2021 was really the plan. Which, Australia, we were locked up for, 3.5 years or something. So there was no travel. So that was the end of that plan till now. So yeah, it's just good to get these plans back on the lock, get them on the road again and get them happening.
So other than the upcoming Euro trip, you guys have had a fairly busy year since the release of your latest EP, Leviathan. How many shows have Nothing Sacred been playing over the past year? You've had a few international supports and whatnot.
Yeah, we haven't actually played that many shows, but we've been trying to focus more on the type of show we've been playing. So just in 2023, we really focused down onto, we've played a lot over the years in Melbourne and Sydney and Adelaide or whatever. And, after a while, there's only so many times you can play the same town, whatever. So we've been focused more on sort of spreading the dates out and making them more important. Not important, but, every gig's important, but international supports has been the focus. So this year, or last year, we played with UDO, then with Metal Church, and then early this year we've just done the support with Paul Diano, which was an unusual gig, but it was fun. It was good.
Let's talk about Leviathan. Firstly, how has it been received so far?
Very well, I think. As far as we can tell, I mean, there's been a lot of positive feedback around the videos. We went to a venue here in Melbourne that used to be an old, it's a place called the Meat Market because it used to be a meat market. So it's very aptly named, but it's no longer, it's used as, I don't even know what it's used for now. It's definitely not, it's not a retail venue at all. It's used as some kind of event stage. It's got a stage set up permanently inside what probably used to be the area where the customers all gathered or whatever. And that's just a great venue. It's got a great old feel. So we rented that out for the day. We went in there and recorded a couple of clips to support it, and they've been really well received. So I think the visuals are good, the audio, the songs are great, and putting that effort into just picking a good place and recording a good video to support them has really helped. So it's been really good. Sham did all the work. He's a demon when it comes to that sort of thing. He did a lot of filming. And done all the editing and the post-production and everything. So he's really pulled a great job together. They look fantastic. So they've been really happy with that, and the songs. We're really happy with them. We love them. Both the two, there's probably 3, maybe 4 of the 5 songs are now in the set that we play live. So we pretty much moved into playing those songs live because they're all great tracks for live. They really work well live. So. A mainstay of the set now.
I'm going to take a trip to the past now. Now, I already know the answer to this question. As you know, I'm a big Nothing Sacred fan, but this is for those listening at home. I mean, Nothing Sacred formed in the early 80s. I mean, how long was the band together during its early incarnation? What kind of sort of shows did you play, and how many releases did you put out?
Started rehearsing in about 82, but we didn't. I think our first gig was early 83, I think. So it's so long ago now that asking for exact dates is not a good idea, because none of us can really remember exactly when things happened. Started in 83. The last gig we probably really did back in that first phase was 93. We set up basically a festival, a mini one-day festival with about 7 or 8 bands, and we ran that at the Foundry Festival in 93. We organised it, set it all up, and so we headlined. But that was probably the last gig we did. So yeah, so about 10 years early on. But we played a lot, like a lot of new bands in those days. We were gigging three times a month probably, in some periods, just around the same town. I mean, again, not for European audiences or whatever, it's different, or American audiences. There's only like 3 cities in Australia that you can play in. So it's not like you can go on this tour and take 3 months to go through every city you want to play at. In Australia, you got 3 or 4 major cities. You can't count Perth because no one can get there because it's the other side of the world.
The whole other country. It's
That's right. Yeah. So we used to play a lot, but you couldn't play too much because you're only really playing the same city again and again and again. Yeah, the big annual Metal for Melbourne's, we played 3 or there were 5, I think. And we played 4. I think we played 4 of the 5 Metal for Melbourne's. We headlined the last one. That was the big one. I mean, I think the official attendance was something like 1,200 or something, but the hall only held like 800. So there was a lot of people queued up outside and coming in and out between bands. So it was a bit chaotic. It was good. That was a really good one. That was a big one. And shortly after that, we were booked to support Megadeth for the Australian tour, and then that got cancelled, the tour. So that never happened. So I've always said to people that basically Dave Mustaine ruined us, but I'll forgive him. I'll forgive him if he gives us the support this year.
Well, he was intimidated by the support band.
Absolutely.
I think that was one story. I think I did an interview with you a few years ago, and that was your response. It was anyway.
Yeah, I probably need to stop telling that story because eventually he might hear it and then we'll be in real trouble. So I probably need to let that one go.
So one of my all-time favorite metal recordings is, of course, your EP, Death Wish. I have my copy right here on vinyl. Personally, I think it's one of the most unique sounding speed metal recordings of its time. Like, the songwriting is just really good. It's more than just speed thrashing riffs like Metallica or Slayer. And the vocals, I'd even argue, are pretty different for a lot of the speed bands that were around at the time with Mick. But it all works so well. And I've got to ask, what bands were influential to Nothing Sacred at the time? Because whenever people ask me for a comparison, I'm usually at a loss.
Well, we used to be too. Well, we still are. I think that it's always been a problem is that, and we even had this with the No Gods album in 2000. I'll get back to your question in a sec, but
sure.
with No Gods in 2020, we were signed through a label and they were doing a bit of promotion and stuff, and they were trying to figure out how to promote it. I mean, everybody likes to put a label on things because it makes it simple to put it in a box.
Exactly.
And they wanted to label us thrash, and we were going, look, I don't think we were ever thrash. We were never really thrash. We have thrashy moments. We can almost be thrash sometimes when you close your eyes and listen close or something, but we weren't really thrash, not in the way most people use that word. So it's not a great label. So if you're not using that label, which one would you use? And we've never known. We've never really known. So the influences back then, I mean, Sham and I both came from, we were very interested in punk. Both of us. I mean, Sham actually joined a punk band for about 6 months. He quit Nothing Sacred in about 85, maybe, and joined up with one of Australia's great underground punk bands, Depression. And Sham did an album with them, and then in the end he came back. It didn't work out with him with Depression, so he came back to Sacred. So yeah, he was very much into punk. I used to love punk as well. So we were influenced by that. When Sham and I actually did the Non Compos Mentis recordings, one drunken Christmas when we had a spare week and nothing else to do. So we just went in and wrote 5 songs and recorded them and then put it out as a cassette. And then the guitarists, Wooly was kind of a bit thrashy, I suppose. Maybe it's a simple word to put, although again, he went on to play with Hobbs and stuff. He was very much into that, so he kind of fitted in pretty well. And then Buddy was just like, he just wanted to be Randy Rhoads. He just loved that whole classic metal vibe and the big soaring guitar solos. That was just Buddy to a T. And then Mick was more of a rock singer. His bands were probably, Thin Lizzy and stuff. So it all kind of melded into that thing that became Nothing Sacred. So, I mean, we weren't trying to be anything, but we all kind of found common ground, and that EP, I'm still really proud of the EP. I mean, we still play, 2 or 3 of the 4 tracks still turn up live, So, we're very happy with it. But yeah, it's really an amalgam of everything like that. So I think the pace comes from the punk more than anything. And Motorhead, we were both influenced by Motorhead and stuff.
Yeah, who was it?
And Mick, Mick just, he really suited what we were doing at the time. He was a really good singer for the time. I mean, he's not Rob Halford, doesn't have that huge soaring range or something like that, but he just really fitted what we were doing. So, I thought he was a great singer. But yeah, from where we were in 1980, it was just, in the 80s, it was great.
Even back in those days, I mean, you're playing Europe this year. Was there even much of a reception to your music overseas from, given Australia's distance from Europe?
I get asked that question occasionally, and I mean, I know I'm not there are plenty of other people who were playing in the 80s, so I'm not the only person that would have an opinion on this, but it's really hard to talk about it now because it's hard to understand how completely different the world was then. I mean, literally, we know that the album, when we did the album in 87 when it was released, it was sent overseas we went to an Australian label for distribution, Cleopatra Records, and they sent copies overseas. But we literally have absolutely no idea what happened. Like, we don't know if they sent 2 copies or 200 or 2,000. We have no idea. And we know nothing about what went on there. And you just get this weird feedback where there was no email. There was no internet and no email. And phones even, a phone call cost a fortune. A phone call to Europe was incredibly expensive back then. So, you get very limited feedback. You see, like, a good example of it is the album cover for Let Us Pray. I, at the time, had been talking, through letters, talking to the guy that ran the Motorhead Headbanger fan club. And through him, I was able to get the name of Joe Patagno, the artist that did all the Motorhead covers. So I just wrote a letter to him. I just wrote him a letter and said, "Dear Joe, we're an Australian band. We're called Nothing Sacred. We'd really love to use some of your artwork. How would we go about doing that? What's it going to cost us? Whatever." I fired a letter off, and 6 weeks later, something just turns up in my letterbox, and it's just a little slide, and it's from Joe Patagno saying, "This is some artwork I've got called Sacred Lay. You're completely free to use it if you want to as your album cover. Just send me a copy of the album." So we've got a Joe Patagno artwork on our cover, and it cost us one album. I had to put a piece of vinyl into the mail and send it off. But literally, that was the negotiation. I fired off a letter, heard nothing for a couple of months, and then it just turned up in the mail.
That's all right.
We had cover up. So it was a totally different time. You had to wait forever to find anything out. It was slow, and it was hard to make contact with the right people, or to know that anyone you're talking to was worth talking to.
Absolutely.
You couldn't really sort of do a background check and just do a quick Google search and check out their Facebook profile and see who they've worked with. That stuff just didn't exist. So it was hard. It was different, and it was hard.
Now, in the documentary Metal Down Under, it was mentioned that you guys pulled a stunt involving a radio station.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's true. We did. No, we didn't. If there's any police or any FBI agents listening, we did not do it. It did not happen. Otherwise, yes. Look. I tell you what, the most people around me who love that story at the moment are my kids, because they give me shit for that all the time. It's like, you didn't really do that, did you? I said, yeah, no, we kind of did. If anyone doesn't know the story, and I won't go into all the details yet again, if you've ever seen that movie Airheads, which came out after we did this, it's not where the idea came from, because that movie came later. This was before that movie was released. But it's kind of like that. We were sick of not having any airplay, so we kind of raided a radio station one night, tied up the DJ, took over the station for about... We did actually hold up a station and play our album on the air for a couple of hours.
Because that was going to be my next question. I don't suppose you sold that story to become the movie Airheads, but...
Well, no. I mean, when the movie came out, though, it was a little freaky, because it's reasonably close to what happened in many ways. The ending's not exactly the same, and we didn't end up with a big record label or something like they did on that. But assuming that's how it ends, I've kind of forgotten. But
they play in prison or something. I think they end up recording their album in prison.
Well, that's the more likely thing.
Yeah, the ending is very similar to Blues Brothers, where they're playing their show in prison.
We would never try that these days, because SWAT would have us dead within about 4 minutes now. The way the police respond to anything that looks like a drama hostage situation, we'd have been cactus in minutes. But it was a different. That was back in the days, mid '80s. I mean, I used to have a bullet belt which I used to wear on stage, and that was a bullet belt that came from an army disposal, and back then the store was selling the bullets. They had the gunpowder removed, but they still had the bullet head. So the bullet head was actually in the bullets, so they looked exactly like real bullets, because they kind of were. They just had the gunpowder taken out. But I used to wear it on planes. I used to get on planes wearing my bullet belt, which is like you wouldn't get within 10 k's of an airport now wearing a bullet belt. So it was a different time.
So after Europe, do you guys have any plans for the rest of the year? Like, you did tell me before we started the interview that you've got some of your classic releases coming out on vinyl. Is that right? Yeah,
the album's finally. We only had the one release, the one pressing back in 1987. When that was gone, they're gone. So I myself have only got one copy of the album. People often ask me, "Do you have a copy? Could you sell it to me or whatever?" I said, I'm sorry, I don't have them. We don't have access to them. We have no albums. They're all gone. That was many, many decades ago. They're gone. But that'll be changing. There's a German label that's just repressing them as we speak now. So they should be ready probably within a month or so, I would think. And we're gonna, they'll be on sale while we're in Europe. And then, assuming we don't sell out in Europe, we'll have them up on our store online after the Europe tour. So that'll be great. It'll be really good to have the album is, it's a creature of the 80s and a creature of a very low budget. So it's not, we did the entire album in 4.5 days, I think, on a $4,000 budget. So there's a lot of compromises in the quality of that album, because we were trying to do a lot in not much time. But for all of that, it is what it is, and I'll be really happy to see it back on vinyl and make it available to anybody who wants to listen to great songs recorded pretty poorly. Am I selling it well?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I already have a copy. I actually have a vinyl copy. I found it at a secondhand record store in Brisbane a few years ago, and I was like, "Yep, I'll I'll have that. And you know, you've got your completionists who are, and fans of Nothing Sacred who obviously would love to have it in their collection. So it is a collector's item at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh well, look, I still think they're some of the best songs we ever wrote. I mean, that's partly why we re-recorded some of them, because they're fantastic songs. I love almost every song on the album. Maybe I do. Maybe every song. You know, I would love at the time to have had the chance to do that album right. It is what it is, and I've always thought it's very disappointing in the sense that these really, really good songs didn't get a chance to really breathe the way they could have. But you know, it is what it is. We can't change it. So.
And what I find fascinating with chatting to a lot of bands like yourselves, and even like when I spoke to Matt from Mortal Sin, a lot of these albums from the 80s that were recorded on like a shoestring budget or with you know, compromises to the production or whatnot. A lot of bands have said, "Oh, we wish we could re-record that album in today's production quality." But then you get a lot of bands today that are trying to imitate the 80s sound as well, that raw sound. It's just very interesting.
I know what you're talking about. I got a couple of friends who work as they work in, you know, play their own bands, play their own songs. They have a strong hand in the production and stuff like that. And yeah, there's these two schools. You know, some of them just want to try and constantly perfect the recording process. They're trying to make everything just as good as they can make it. The better, the better, the better, the better. And then there's the other school here that just wants to go back to making it sound like it's just a couple of guys in their mum's kitchen bashing it out.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think, well, look, you know, there's rooms for both. I mean, you do what you want to do, get the sound you're happy with, and then see whether people will accept it. I mean, there's plenty of stuff out there like that. I hear new bands occasionally, and they really do have a kind of retro sound. They're pushing to go more down the quality chain, so to speak, without being low quality, but trying to make it dirtier and grungier. Yeah, look, it is what it is. It really was. As someone who played on the album, I can hear things that I wish I could re-record. There are moments where I think, I really should have done another take on that or something. You know, but we were so up against the time schedule. You know, we did 12 songs in 4 days, and that's with mixing and everything. So I mean, you had time for a couple of takes, and that was it.
And that in itself is an achievement. But Karl, it's been fantastic to talk to you. It's great that you guys are coming up to play Europe. I wish you nothing but the best. Thanks again.
Thanks, Liam.
I look forward to seeing you here in Berlin.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have a great time. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a really long time coming. I'm really gonna enjoy this, and you know, catching up with people like you is just gonna make it that much better. I'm so glad we're gonna get the chance to catch up again, man. I'll buy you a beer.
Nice. All right. Thanks, Karl. Cheers, man.
Well, man.